What's up? What's up? All right, so today I am prepping my pomegranates. My pomegranates. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back. We're back. Time to rock and roll. Alright. We got our, what's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So we have our hexagon. Right? Is it hex or pentagon? Hexagon. Which one is 5 versus which one is 4? I can tell. I didn't pay attention in school, but not to worry. We're not in school today. All right. So basically, if you cut against the ribs of the pomegranate, sometimes it's a little hard to see where the ribs are, but for the most part, you can kind of tell. And if you cut along those lines, when you open it, right, it's easy for you to get it ready, right? So once we gotta make sure we come to the top, because that's how you can break it open very easily. All right, and then you do something like this. I try not to crush it too much, but the goal is to just separate it, right? And into the bowl of water, of course, right? Super important. Sometimes when you cut into the pomegranate, there might be some ones that are like a little off, I won't say rotten, but just not the ones you would want to eat, you know what I mean? So those you get rid of. But the reason I am popping them into the bowl of water is so that way once this stuff, you can separate it very easily, because the yellow part of it floats in the water, so it's very easy for you to get rid of it, you know what I mean? That's the whole point of doing it this way, right? Because I don't want to wait until I'm ready to eat it to try and cut a piece and then fight with the cells and the membrane and all that stuff to try and get it out. I just want to open up the container, take out what I need, and then just eat it, right? Versus fighting with it every 5 minutes when I want to get. And this way it's just always ready to go. And then you can use this to drop into your salads, just eat it as a snack. By the way, did you know that you can dry the skin of the pomegranate and use it for tea, right? I just learned that recently, and it's just super healthy, of course, because pomegranate itself is, super healthy for you. So go figure, the skin is also healthy for you. It's like soursop. Soursop itself is amazing, but the leaves are actually even more good for you, even more better. So it's the same idea with the pomegranate in terms of this part right here. So you would just take out all of this, right? You would take out all of this, and then you would just dry just the skin. And then once it's completely dry, you would turn that into a powder, and literally you would make tea with it. So just something to do some research, of course, on your own and look into. But I just think that's really cool. By the way, thank you so much for joining. My name is Ed Harris. I am a vegan chef, all right? Been cooking for almost 30 years, right? And, I love all things food. I've traveled all over the world, learning really amazing cuisine in terms of different cultures, and I just love being able to share that knowledge with you, right? So on my page, what you'll find is a lot of help in terms of being more plant-based, right? And what does that look like? What that journey entails, and yeah, just giving you really great ideas that you can, of course, take home and use to your benefit. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, man. Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing? Thanks for the flash goal. That's awesome. Appreciate you. You know, I'm still figuring out TikTok, of course, because, you know, I used to be on the other platform. We ain't gonna say their names just because, you know, I'm mad at them right now because they just be holding people back, you know. But TikTok, I love TikTok because they share the love, you know. They make sure that people see you. You know, TikTok makes sure that, you know, you're rewarded for all your hard work. So I'm on here literally every day sharing something about being more plant-based. So yeah, appreciate you all being on here and joining me, and, you know, come on here with your questions because that's why I'm on here. You know, I want to help as many people as possible. That's my goal for 2026. You know what I mean? I have also a free PDF in my bio for anyone that is trying to be more plant-based. It's really great resource in terms of things that you can do, dishes that you can make, you know, just very helpful. All right, so check that out if you need, you know, a little pick-me-up, a little more assistance in just what it would look like to be more plant-based and like how that can help you. All right. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Just getting my pomegranate ready so I can snack on it during the week, you know. And I have 3 of these babies lined up. I have one more right here, and I have another one right here. So that's just to let you know there's 5 of us, and we all love pomegranates. So this is something we just snack on during the week in my house just because, you know, it's the perfect snack. It's so good for you. It's nutritious, beneficial, healthy, tasty. I mean, what more can you ask for in a snack? You know, and the reason I'm doing it over water is because all the yellow parts of the pomegranate actually floats. It doesn't sink. The seeds sink. So it makes it very easy for you to separate the unwanted from the wanted. All right? What's up? What's up, people? Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing? What's up, Bridget? So, questions, I am here. Anything about food, you can ask me. Of course, plant-based and vegan questions are my favorite. But, you know, at one point, I was not vegan. So, you know, I can help you possibly, you know, if you have a question that's not vegan. But the whole point is to, you know, be more plant-based, right? So that's why I'm here. I'm here to help people be more plant-based. All right. So the goal to get your pomegranate to really work for you is to slice it down the ribs. This way, when you break into it, it just makes it very easy. See? Get rid of all of that. Sometimes they might get a little squish here and there, but that's okay. All right, so once you have the top like this, then you just break it open, right? But you want to be careful. Just give it a little guidance and then, see? And then we have fun. But you want to be careful and make sure you're not wearing any kind of white or light colored clothes because the pomegranate does spray when you do it this way. So it will get all over the place. So you want to be careful with that. All right, that's the only thing. But how else are you supposed to get these out of here? You know what I mean? It's one of those fruits where you have to work for it, but that's life. You know, the things that you work for the hardest normally are the most beneficial. You know, it's like, think of, things that are really bitter. Those are the ones that are actually really good for you. Glam, I've always been a picky eater, so I'm not sure what plant-based food look I'd like. Oh, well, you're in the right place, Glam, because plant-based food literally can look like anything that you eat right now. You know what I mean? Like, it. You see, the thing is, unfortunately, there are people out there that make plant-based food look really bad, right? And that's far from the case, because trust me when I tell you, I love to eat, right? So I make everything: curry, pizza, macaroni and cheese, stir fry, dumplings. I mean, baked ziti, you name it. 100% plant-based all the time. And trust me when I tell you, it's super delicious, right? What you have to do is, I tell people, pick a cuisine, pick a culture that you really love, and then pick a dish from that culture and play around with that dish, right? So, Glam, tell me what's one thing you love to eat, that, like, what's your favorite thing to eat? And I'm going to veganize it for you right here, right now. So tell me what that is. Because it's that easy. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I can make anything vegan. My wife's Nigerian. Pizza, oh, that's easy. We're literally making pizza for dinner tonight. I already have the dough in the refrigerator, proofing nice and slow. So first of all, pizza dough is vegan, right? There's no dairy, there's nothing in pizza dough, so that automatically is done. So you can make any kind of pizza dough you want, and that's easy. Now, the tricky part is the cheese, of course, right? I even make my own pepperoni from scratch, just because, that's just me. Obviously, you don't have to do that, but you can do a mushroom pizza, you can do a vegetable pizza, you can do any kind of pizza, right? You can buy plant-based cheese. And the thing is, if you are new to being vegan, then, there's certain ingredients that you might buy that you might not be familiar with in terms of taste. So it might seem a little off, or it might seem a little different. I try to tell people not to get caught up in trying to replace one thing for another, especially if you're switching from actual dairy to being plant-based, because that's where you get into trouble. You know what I mean? So you want to be very careful to not, try not to consume yourself with trying to replace cheese for cheese. But you can totally do tomato sauce. That's vegan, right? You have your mushrooms, you have your peppers, onions, whatever toppings you like for your pizza. If you're doing a margarita pizza, which is only sauce and cheese, then of course that's different, because there is no buffalo cheese, or there's no, mozzarella that you can do the same way that's vegan. But you can get plant-based cheese and put it on there. Me, when I do my pizza, I don't do a lot of cheese, just because I try to stay away from the highly processed items, just because they're not really good for you. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, it's okay, but you don't want a situation where you are relying heavily on those super processed foods. You know what I mean? So you can still do pizza, still make it taste really good. The trick now is paying attention to the ingredients that you're putting on the pizza, right? So for instance, if you're gonna do mushrooms, what I do when I do mushrooms is I do one of two things. Either I marinate the mushrooms before, and then I give them a quick sear, or I do a nice really hot pan, salt and pepper on them, fresh herbs, parsley, fresh thyme, things like that. And you can totally have a very flavorful pizza. Yeah, I could do without the cheese. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to have cheese on pizza. Granted, some people might be like, what's that? What's cheese without pizza? But, everybody's different. Because even when I wasn't vegan, I was never crazy about all the cheese that they put on the pizza. Like, I just felt it was too much. You know what I mean? So for me, being vegan now, it's like, I'm fine with having very little cheese, if any, on the pizza. I even make my own cheese sauce, which you could do too. And that is simply, soy milk, nutritional yeast, right? Salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, some smoked paprika, a little bit of dried mustard, blend that all up, add a little bit of oil to it, and you have a cheese sauce. Like, super simple. You know what I mean? Very quick. So there are ways about it, but what I would tell you is being plant-based is all about layering flavor, right? This is super, super important. You want to make sure that everything that you're making, you're taking time to actually season it and get it ready, because the more you season your food, obviously the better it's gonna taste. And with the pizza, anything that you're gonna put on top of the pizza as your topping, you wanna make sure that you're adding some kind of flavor to it. All right? So I hope that helps. Any other questions? Because I love answering questions about food. Like, that's my jam. I've been cooking for almost 30 years, so food is like my jam, man. Like, I do food like nobody's business. Asian food, Italian, Spanish, you name it, Caribbean, African. I've written 3 cookbooks, right? So one cookbook's Nigerian because my wife's Nigerian, and in Nigeria, they are heavy meat based. Like, Nigerian food is a lot of meat, right? All kinds of cuts, all kinds of meat. So to be able to veganize Nigerian food is a big win for me. All right, because when if you ever bump into a Nigerian person and you ask them about vegan food, they'll look at you like you're crazy. The ones that eat meat, they're like, "What? Vegan, Nigerian? Like, where are you from?" So automatically, that's like unheard of. So it's fun for me to be able to do things that's not the norm, right? Because that's what being plant-based is all about. It's you have to get really creative, and that's how you have fun. So I encourage you, I implore you to, you know, get excited, be excited about being plant-based, because there's a lot of fun there, right? You just have to literally experiment. Like, when I was on Chop, Food Network, one of the things that one of the judges said to me was, Chef Ed, he's like, handles, he attacks food with like reckless abandonment. Like, for me, I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna have fun. Like, it doesn't matter, what kind of culture it is, what kind of cuisine, I'm gonna jump in there and I'm gonna just do whatever it is, because the goal is to make it taste good. So for me, I love a challenge of, how do I make something more vegan? How do I make something more plant-based? How do I make it taste good? And we do waffles, we do pancakes, we do, you name it. I even make my own plant roast, like field roast. I make my own meat substitutes. I make my own sausages when I feel like it. I'm from the Caribbean, so, there's this thing called patties, beef patties, veggie patties, chicken patties. Like, we have that in the Caribbean. So for me, being plant-based, that's not something I want to give up, because I love that stuff when I was younger. So I made a vegan version, and it's just as good to me, to my family, to anyone that eats it. Like, it's delicious. So I say that to say, you just have to find ways to reinvent the things that, and it's not even reinventing, really, it's just tweaking, honestly, because you can treat those dishes the same way. You're just subbing, 1 or 2 ingredients, right? Like, for the veggie patty, instead of cooking the meat, I'm doing mushrooms, I'm doing potatoes, I'm doing carrots, but it's the same flavor profile. You're just literally omitting 1 ingredient. So, but people don't realize that, and it's almost like people go into shock, because they hear plant-based or they hear vegan, and they're just like, oh man, what am I gonna do? Even for me, being a chef, right? Check this out. Me being a chef, having 20 something years of experience, because we're gonna be vegan now for almost 10 years, right? So Can you imagine me being a classically trained chef? It was hard for me when I started to be plant-based, when we decided to go vegan. Like, I was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do for breakfast? What am I supposed to do for dinner? It was a little challenging, but because I was stuck in this mentality and this mindset of, oh, I have to start over from scratch. I have to figure out how to do this, how to do that. But no, you don't. You're already cooking. So all you're doing is either one, swapping ingredients out, or two, you're omitting certain ingredients. That's it. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to come up with this new way of doing anything. Like, nah, it's really simple, right? But it takes you really paying attention. It takes you wanting to, re-educate yourself, right? And just allowing your mind to know that the possibility is there, and it's just a matter of, okay, how do I approach this in a way that I can win, right? So that led me to writing my first cookbook, which was just, I called it veganish, by the way, because, with that, you can, we were trying to be 100% vegan. So I was like, well, right now we're kind of like vegan-ish, because, we eat dairy, but we're not eating meat, and, that led into one thing led to the other. And then, we slowly but surely cut out everything. So we started, when we decided to go vegan, we watched a documentary on Netflix called What the Health, right? And that was just like, dude, after we watched that, my kids, they were young. They were like, I don't know, one was 10, one was maybe 5 or 4 or something. The other one was like 2. They were all like, Daddy, Mommy, we're not going to eat meat anymore, right? And we were looking at each other, my wife and I were like, well, no, we're not going to eat meat. So then, of course, me being a chef and a dad and a husband, I took it upon myself as like a mission. I was like, all right, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? And literally, we took it one step at a time. We like cut out, we started with breakfast, and we did breakfast with no meat, no dairy, no byproducts or anything like that. And it took some time, you know what I mean? Like, I say this to tell you, don't try to cut out everything all at once, because that's how you fail, and that's how you end up going back to eating meat or whatever it is that you're trying not to eat. So take it in small steps, take it in small strides, and, just really pace yourself, because you don't want to put your body into shock by cutting everything out, because literally some of the things that you're eating on a day-to-day basis is highly addictive, especially the dairy, right? There's stuff in there that just, it has you hooked. That's why people can't give it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to give it up, and there's a reason why it's hard to give it up. You know what I mean? So thanks, Glam. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's highly addictive, and you have to watch it. And what I noticed when we turned vegan, your body changes in the coolest way, because the minute you go plant-based and you're like plant-based for a while, and the minute you eat something that's not plant-based, like you eat some dairy, or, you eat a piece of meat, and this could happen by mistake. You go out to eat at a restaurant and, you buy sauteed vegetables, but they use chicken stock. Your body feels kind of weird. Do you put your pomegranate in water? Yes, it's in water right now. So I put it in water just so it separates all of these, right? So it's easy for me to pick them out, because the pomegranate itself, these sink to the bottom, and then all of the membrane and stuff like that floats to the top. So it's very easy for you to kind of scoop it out, and that just makes it, easier than trying to pick through it and, it's sticking everywhere. So this way, all this goes into a container, and whenever we're ready to snack on it, we just have to pull out the container and take what we need and eat it. It's much cheaper than going to the supermarket and buying, already prepped pomegranate. You know what I mean? Way that, they're robbing you, because how much they charge you in the supermarket is just like unheard of. Like, why you charging me so much for pomegranate when they're so cheap? You know what I mean? But it's the labor to get them out, like this, what I'm doing here. So that's why they charge you so much, because their version of getting it out, is why they can charge you what they charge you. I can't eat them, my husband do. Oh no, Mary, I'm sorry you can't eat these. They're amazing. But yeah, they're so good for you. But people, like, I don't like when they juice it, just because they juice it with the yellow part of it, the membrane, and that makes it so bitter. So that's why, like, I rather just eat the seeds just like this, because it's just more fun. All right, Love Key, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I love it. I love it. But yeah, man, cooking for me is all about having fun. Like, I did a bread class couple nights ago, I think 3 nights ago, and I showed everyone how to make bread. And I'm telling you, literally, it was flour, yeast, maple syrup instead of honey, right? A little bit of salt and milk, 5 ingredients, right? And I'm telling you, it's the most bomb bread ever. It's on my YouTube channel. So if you ever want to see that, it's there. So, I do stuff like that. And, for me, it's all about how do I make things at home that you can possibly buy in the supermarket that's just as good. You know what I mean? Don't worry, Glam. The next class that I do, we're probably going to be doing a dumpling class this month. If not this month, then next month. I try to do at least one class a month. And, dumplings for me is like, whoo, and I'm talking all kinds of dumplings, right? Pot stickers, gyoza, all that kind of stuff. Because, when I lived in New York, I worked at a restaurant in New York City called Budokan, and I was there for 5 years. So I got to train with a master dim sum chef, and I was like a sponge. I learned everything every single day. Like, yo, you would not believe I'm vegan as well, going on 3 years. Congrats, Love Key. That's awesome, man. Keep going. Don't give up. You're in the right place. Like, being vegan is cool, man. It lets you be creative, and it's just good all around. You know what I mean? It's really good for your body. Like, it's cool. But yeah, back to the dim sum. So, for me, dim sum, Asian food, I love making Asian food, first of all. Like, my pantry and my cabinet, like, I have one whole cabinet in my house is dedicated to all Asian ingredients, just so you know. That's how much I do Asian food. Like, I'm talking soy sauces, different types of soy sauces, sesame oils, hoisin, mushroom oyster sauce, all kinds of delicious stuff in there. Rice wine vinegars, black vinegars, sesame seeds, like, all that stuff is in my pantry. And, I've been to Japan, I've been to Thailand, I've been to China, I've been to Korea, and even India, because India is part of Asia as well. And I just love being able to get that knowledge, right, of being in these different places, because, like, they know food, obviously, right? So I love making Asian food. So I think the next class that I do is probably going to be dumplings. So if any of you watching, if any of you, hold on one second, sorry. Okay, cool. So if any of you want to join up for that, then let me know, right? Send me a message. So that way, when I launch it, right, I can send you a message and the link, because dumpling is fun. You know what I mean? I love making dumplings, and I've been doing it for years. And it's really easy if you understand and if you know the things to use and what to do. I'm talking from the dumpling skins to how to make the farce, which is, one of the things that people don't realize when you're doing dumplings is you need to make the filling tacky, right? It needs to be sticky. So this way, when you make the dumpling and you fold it, when you bite into it, when it's cooked, everything is not just kind of running out or pouring out. Like, it's still kind of compact and solid, right? So we're going to talk about all those things. I'm going to show you, like, authentic traditional ways of how they actually did those kind of fillings, because back in the day, there were no KitchenAids and no mixers when they were making dumpling doughs and the filling. So what you would have to do is like pick them up and slam them in the bowl. So all these are things that I learned, you know, working with the master dims Thailand. I was able to learn some really cool dumpling doughs and just, you know, spring roll ideas. So, you know, we're going to get into all of that, you know, for sure. So appreciate you being on here, ladies and gentlemen. My pomegranates are done, and this is what I was talking about. Now everything is separated. I have all the trash. Like, look at this. Look at all my trash right there. Right? So that's you know, everything is out. So right now I'm just looking for the ones that are slightly bruised. And the other cool trick about when you keep your pomegranate in water like this, right, it allows you to see the ones that are slightly bruised or just in terms of ruptured, the color of it changes. Like, I don't know if you can see this. You see how it's like light on this side versus this one, how it's like dark. You see that? Boom, there you go. So that's the difference. And the water allows you to see this even more. So that's one of the other reasons why I keep them in water when I'm doing this, so I can just pick through and get those ones that might not look as, you know, pleasant or, you know, just the guy. All right. So after I do this, the next thing I do is I have a container that I have a piece of paper towel in the bottom. This is super important for me anyway, because I don't like, you know, sometimes when you go to the supermarket and you buy what's it called? You buy any kind of fruits, it's sitting in like a puddle of juice. That juice over time, it breaks down your fruit and it makes your fruit, you know, it makes your fruit go bad even faster. So with the paper towel in the bottom, it helps drain and just keep the liquid away from the fruit. And I do this when I cut cantaloupes. I do this when I cut honeydew, watermelons, pineapple, anything like that. Any fruit basically that has juice coming out of it, which is every fruit. But yeah, that's how I store my fruit. I put them on top of a paper towel, and the paper towel has to be dry, of course, right? So once you do that, you are in an amazing place to keep your fruit so it doesn't go bad as fast. And this obviously makes it last even longer, right? So just like that, just super simple, right? And then now we have our delicious snack ready for whenever we want to eat, right? No work needed. You know, I rather spend 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, going through all of it now. So this way, when I'm ready to eat, that's just how much I love to eat. I could just eat and not think about it. You know what I mean? So while I'm finishing this up, do we have any questions from anyone about being more plant-based? You know, do you need any help with any dishes that you're trying to make or you've tried that might not work as well? You know, I can, you know, I would be happy to help you, you know, point you in the right direction, you know, give you a tip or a trick to make it better, right? Because that's what I do. I'm always doing R&D, and I'm always, you know, I'm always working on dishes. Do you eat sugar? That is a good question. How do I answer that? I eat sugar, but I'm very mindful of it, right? Pearl, I know it's bad for you, so I try to limit as much sugar as I possibly can. You know what I mean? Like even when I do desserts, like my kids, we made chocolate chip cookies yesterday, and you know, the recipe called for, I think, 3 cups of sugar, and I told them, guys, let's do 2 cups, you know, or yeah, 2 cups. I think we went with half of the sugar that was needed, just because sugar, it's so highly addictive and it's just so bad for you. You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, like, I love desserts, but I don't like uber sweet desserts either. Like, I just don't, there's no need, you know. And unfortunately, some people, when they make desserts, they hide behind the sugar and they put so much sugar just because they rather put sugar and make it sweet versus actually develop flavor, because flavor and sugar is not the same thing, right? You can make an amazingly tasty dessert and it doesn't have to be uberly sweet. Like it doesn't have to be this sugar situation that just drives up your blood pressure. You know what I mean? Your A1C stays low if you can refrain from eating sugar. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. You know what I mean? And that's my goal. Because in our community, unfortunately, high blood pressure and diabetes and all these things is prevalent. We all know this, right? So being able to limit your sugar intake is the most amazing thing you can do for yourself and for your family. So I'm very big on not having the kids use a lot of sugar, not making uber sweet desserts. My 15-year-old, she loves to bake, right? And anytime, she does desserts, and I have the honor of helping her. We always talk about not doing a lot of sugar. You know what I mean? How do we make this without? So for me, it's investing in quality ingredients like really nice vanilla. You know what I mean? Because believe it or not, there are so much different types of vanilla out there, from vanilla powder to vanilla sugars to vanilla syrups to vanilla essence, right? So there are ways to impart flavor that's really amazing without having to load up on the sugar. What do you wash your fruit with? So I have a massive like 5 or 10 pound bag of baking soda. So I do baking soda with my fruits and with my vegetables, right? And I'll tell you a trick. Like if you grab a broccoli and you put it under water and you run water, the water beads off the top of the broccoli, and that's because there's a coating on the broccoli. And when I found that out, I was just like, that's crazy, because the water should go right through the broccoli. Like it shouldn't go on top of the broccoli and then be running off the sides. Like it should just go right through the broccoli, because it's broccoli, it's porous. Like it shouldn't be like an umbrella situation, right? So even my lettuce, my kale, when I'm making salads, like I'll do a big container of water and I'll put some baking soda in it and I'll let it sit in that for 15-20 minutes, just to kind of break down and make it as alkaline as possible before I eat it. The unfortunate thing is, with the way the system is set up, the food system is set up, everything has something on it. Everything is just it's just crazy. And that's one of the things I love about Europe, is like they actually care about the food, and they don't allow certain things to be used to treat the food. But in America, where I am, where some of you are, they don't care. So we as consumers have to do our due diligence in terms of what we're doing with our fruits and vegetables. How do we clean them? How do we prep them? Where we're buying them from? You ever notice, like, for instance, you go to the supermarket and you buy certain things, and in a couple of days it's just like really bad. It's like, those are the things, because they're spraying them with stuff to keep them alive in the supermarket, but the minute you take them home, those things are not being sprayed on them anymore, and you're like, oh, what happened? You know what I mean? So we just have to be careful, and this is why you can't just eat just anything. And that's one of the reasons why I love being plant-based, because when you're plant-based, it forces you to think about what you're eating. It forces you to pay attention, right? You're not just, because for me, being a chef and being somebody that loves food, when I wasn't vegan, like I went everywhere, I ate everything. I didn't even think about it. I didn't look at what the ingredients were. Like you don't care, because it's like, oh, I eat everything. Like I'm I eat meat, I eat dairy. Like there's no big deal. You don't have to think about it. So when you're vegan and or you're plant-based, you have to really pay attention to what you're eating. Now you're thinking about it. You're reading ingredients. You're reading labels, because you have to know what you're about to eat. So when you start reading the labels, you start to see some of the crazy things that they're putting in the food. And once you see that, you then have two options. Do you ignore it, or do you, figure out a way to combat that and just be more smarter with your shopping. You know, companies, consumer goods, the people that make the products that we buy in the supermarket, they have a team of psychologists. They have a team of people that basically their main job is to get into your mind as a consumer and break down that defense so that you will buy their products. Like, this is a known thing. Like, there are people, there are companies that literally they hire people to figure out how they can best market to you, how they can best make the package look so you don't think about it twice and you just grab and you buy it. Yeah, it's hard these days with real good food. I'm telling you, man, like it's insane. Like, you really have to pay attention. So I tell people, especially when I do classes and my students, like, you have to read the labels. You know what I mean? You have to read the labels. You have to pay attention. The front of, let's say you're picking up something in the supermarket. The front part of it is made to entice you and bring you in and to make you just grab it and put it in your shopping cart. The back is where you need to pay attention to, right? Because the back is what tells you everything you need to know about the product. And then sometimes they're not even telling you everything because, one, you have to pay attention to the words they're using because they are always figuring out ways to cover up certain ingredients, right? Like, do you realize that there are many names to call sugar? There are many names to call different types of oils. Like, they are always changing the names of ingredients so it can throw you off because, every couple of years, consumers, they get smarter. So as the consumers get smarter, the companies need to get smarter as well. So they are always, this is why ingredients change. And what I tell people is, when you're looking at the ingredients, if sugar, oil, salt is like the first, second, or third ingredient, do not buy it. Like, the first ingredients, the first, second, third ingredients in anything that you buy is the majority of that ingredient in that product, right? So if you pick up a snack and the second ingredient is sugar, you're literally eating just sugar. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get on a rant about food and products, but just before you shop and you put things in your cart, just read the ingredients, right? Just to see what's in there. You know what I mean? Like, there are some ingredients, some products, the second ingredient is oil. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful. Yup, sugar has many names. Thank you. Yes, like, so many names. So many names. And the names are not obvious. Like, they're really not that obvious. So it's like you would read it and you're like, oh, what's that? Okay, you won't think sugar when you read it. So that's how they get over you, and that's how they win. So, be careful, be mindful, and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm about to get out of here because we need to go take care of some business, me and the fam. But make sure you join me. When we come back, I'll be making my pizza. So if you guys are around, you can check that out. I'll be live, and I'll do it. My dough's in the refrigerator already, and I'm experimenting, which is what I said I did. Appreciate your conversation. Pearl, it's my pleasure. Happy to do it. Thank you, Glam. I appreciate you too. So, and I appreciate all of you for joining me and being on here. But yeah, tonight we're doing pizza and I'm experimenting. How is it gonna come out? I have no idea, but I don't care because, I'm positive and I'm gonna be hopeful that it's gonna be good, right? But the reason I said I'm experimenting because I've made pizza a million times, but not this way. So I am experimenting with gluten-free pizza dough. It's like a hybrid. So I did half gluten-free flour and I did half all-purpose flour, right? Because I want to see what that texture is going to look like because I love a pizza that's very crispy on the edges, on the shell, the outside, and then very soft and doughy on the inside. So I think a gluten-free combination is gonna, do something really cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I already have my tomato sauce, I have my dough ready, and the dough, I made it yesterday afternoon. So it's been sitting in the refrigerator for almost 24 hours. Actually, it's about 24 hours now. So the thing about gluten-free is that it needs time for the dough, the flour to get soft and to just moisten, right? Because the gluten is what allows you to make really pliable, stretchy dough. So when you're working with gluten-free, there's none of that stretchiness, right? Like it's there, but it'll break, right? Because that's the gluten. That's what keeps it together. So that's why I did a hybrid of half and half. So I'm really interested to see how it's gonna go, because like my pizza dough on a regular basis is like super tasty, super delicious. And it's literally just extra virgin olive oil, salt, yeast, flour, and water. And it makes the most tasty dough. And just a little bit of, I don't know if I said salt, but so yummy, so delicious. So I'm looking forward to it. Wish we could see you make it. You will, you will. Let's say I should be ready to make it around, what time is it now? It's 5:13 Eastern Standard Time. So I would say by 7:30, I think I'll be back home and I'll be able to make it. So if you're around, check out my channel around that time, and you'll get to see me do it live. All right. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun. So I will catch each and every one of you later. Make sure if you need some more help being plant-based, I have an amazing PDF in my bio. You can get it. It's 100% free. There's no gimmicks. It's just a lot of helpful tips and tricks. There are dish ideas in there as well. So there's just really cool stuff. And yeah, come back and see me. I do lives literally almost every day. And at least Monday to Friday, I come on here and I make dinner. So you get to see what I'm doing for dinner with my family, every day, at least Monday to Friday, right? And I basically come on and show you towards the end of it. So you get to see the finished product, you get to see what we're eating. And just so this way you have ideas of what you can do yourself for a dinner. So yeah, until this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you later. I hope you have fun. I hope you have an amazing rest of your evening, and I will see you when I come on here tonight to make some delicious pepperoni pizza. And yes, it's gonna be pepperoni pizza because I made pepperoni from scratch. Like I made my own pepperoni. So I'm gonna slice that up. That's gonna be on the pizza. I'm gonna get me some, I have green peppers already. I have my tomato sauce. Maybe I'll go get some mushrooms from the market, and we'll see, but we have olives too. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be delicious. It's gonna be interesting. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. All right, people.